This is a Hot Pie Original.
Some days things are just weird, ironic, and messed up. It's not often that the weird, ironic, and messed up things happen in your own backyard. But welcome to the last 24 hours in Austin, Texas. Late yesterday, I bet I said the same thing many of you have said, and that is, are you kidding me? You know, usually your hometown gets a headline or two. You know, as you look at news sites and you see stories ranked on popularity and controversy and all that stuff, usually you might get a headline every now and then from your hometown. It's pretty rare that you take the first two spots of headlines in your hometown, but we did it. We've taken the top two spots, and I'm not quite sure where to start, but I think I have a pretty good idea. We can start with psycho parents ripping off the teacher's mask. Or, of course, the karma-infused reality that is Greg Abbott testing positive for COVID-19. After, no less, during, no less, maybe even before, no less, a maskless fundraiser. So let's do karma. Why don't we do karma first? I bet, and somebody who has nothing to do this morning or this afternoon or overnight for that matter, you need to check this out. Somebody quantify this. You could probably lie and make it up and the rest of us won't check. So go ahead and go to work on this right now. I bet searches for COVID breakthrough infections jumped dramatically yesterday afternoon. I did it. I think it prompted a lot of people to do it. I also think the social media mentions of the word karma, somebody document those. Wonder how many times in the last 14 hours on social media the word karma has been used. Somebody check that one too. So you've got an assignment for the rest of the day. Don't do any work. Just get back in bed and start doing this stuff. So the Wall Street Journal reports, just for conversation's sake, I'm not going to pretend to be the talk show host with a GED that lectures everybody about their expertise in medicine. But the Wall Street Journal, in a story yesterday, it doesn't take long for you to check it out. Anybody can do it themselves. It says, as Delta surges, COVID-19 breakthrough cases remain uncommon. Just to pass along the science, the United States counted at least 193,204 so-called breakthrough cases among vaccinated people between January 1 and early August. So the figure represents 0.1% of the more than 136 million fully vaccinated people in the states that have been monitored. The total number of breakthrough cases is likely higher, though, public health experts say, because fully vaccinated people with asymptomatic infections likely aren't getting tested for COVID-19. Makes sense? At least 11 states, including California and Mississippi, counted more than half of their reported breakthrough cases between July 1st and early August. That suggests, of course, that the rise of Delta was causing more breakthroughs than earlier strains. So what exactly is the number? Nobody's putting an exact number on it. It's still pretty rare. But since most people are asymptomatic, then they're not getting tested. So we just don't know the real number. Okay. So we know the important part of this. Surely you now know the important part of this, which I think sets this up very nicely for Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas. If you didn't know and you've been under a rock, and I don't know how you didn't know this. In fact, I'm almost to the point of saying, if you didn't know this, I think you need to go away. Just go back to sleep. It hit immediately. And again, I bet in the first 3 hours of the news coming out that he had tested positive after going to a fundraiser. And that fundraiser was not in Austin, shockingly. But I'll bet you the posts with the word karma in it, there might have been at least 50,000 with the word karma in it within the first 12 hours of this news breaking. So Greg Abbott tests positive. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, according to Yahoo News, for those that have been under a rock, attended a Republican fundraiser one night before testing positive for COVID-19. Abbott attended a fundraiser for the Republican Club at Heritage Ranch. I don't know what white people's suburban area that is, but it's a white people's suburban area. Images and videos showed him unmasked and hugging, shaking hands with, and speaking to other unmasked attendees at the venue. I don't know how many are vaccinated. Don't know. I'd be a little worried, though, if I was there and I wasn't vaccinated and probably not in the greatest of health. Texas, it should be pointed out, is currently averaging 14,453 new cases per day, according to the 7-day average from the New York Times COVID-19 case tracker. So that's where we are. So let's just start this series of, I think, pretty obvious questions, but it's going to get interesting. It's going to get really interesting. It's an interesting test of messaging and attitudes. And you can play this out yourself. If you're not checking for how many times the word karma has been used in the last 12 hours, then pivot over to the series of questions I'm going to ask. Okay? I'll toss some out, real questions, real issues. And then, of course, somebody with nothing better to do before the show is over today, you will have done your homework and you would have tracked how many times karma has been mentioned on social media. How many times over the past 3 months, and I'm just sort of throwing this out as we go along. Of course, I don't plan this stuff. How many times over the past, I'll say 3 months, has Greg Abbott mentioned that he's vaccinated? Now, his staff quickly made the point, and rightly so. His staff made the point yesterday, he's fully vaccinated, doing fine. In fact, they went to Instagram to show a very nice picture of him, the picture of health, which was probably a smart thing to do as well. You do know that, or maybe not, you do know the reason that you want to be vaccinated is that you're not, the reason for vaccinations in general, whether you agree or disagree, but this is the sole purpose. The purpose is that you won't get sick and end up in the hospital, right? I mean, that's the reason, that's the concept behind it, that Greg Abbott is, it's unlikely he gets sick, and it's really, 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 really unlikely he ends up in a hospital. There's the reason. That's it. Now, if you say, I don't believe in this stuff, the other reason is you don't take up a hospital bed for, somebody's parent or child or something like that. So the reason is it's not to stop the exposure, it's to stop you from getting sick. There's an interesting interview. First time, I guess when this stuff first started coming out, these breakthrough infections, and, most of us hadn't even thought of the concept. And a guy for the NFL Network was being interviewed. And he had gone public with this because he had to announce that he had tested positive for COVID. He had been vaccinated. This is early on in the whole breakthrough of these variants. And so I'm listening. It's late at night. I'm listening to this interview, and I'm thinking, yeah, what's up with this? This is terrifying or worrisome. And he said, look, the reason why I'm going public is that early on, the anti-vaxxers took his story and ran with it to say, why are you even bothering getting vaccinated if you're going to get it anyway? And so he goes, look, I didn't want to talk about this. I don't want to be the poster child of this, but I had no option. His name is Rich Eisen. And so he's kind of the first semi-celebrity that tested positive with a breakthrough. So anti-vaxxers went online and said, see, why would you even bother? So, of course, he then felt like it was his responsibility. This is why it circles back to Greg Abbott. He felt like it was his responsibility to go public and say, you tools, the reason why I'm perfectly fine right now and I'm not sick and I'm not in the hospital, not taking up a bed you might need, is because I am vaccinated. And I thought, wow. Yeah. Now, we've learned a lot more. We now know that is the reason. We now know that's the responsibility, but it's circling back to Greg Abbott now. So, how many times has he mentioned being vaccinated before today? I don't know. Not many, I'm guessing. I'm sure he has, but not very often. It's not as if every time the microphone is turned on, Greg Abbott says, I'm vaccinated, please do it as well. I'm not saying he's never done it. I just don't think it's that often. Now, does he change? Think about this. Does he change? Because remember, as Mark McKinnon, political analyst, pointed out yesterday, everything is about 2024. Greg Abbott v. Ron DeSantis of Florida, and apparently everything about 2024 is freedom and liberty, get out of my face, right? Okay, so let's now take that over the past 24 hours and say, does he change his freedom and liberty message at all? I'm not saying he completely dismisses it. I'm just wondering now, does he temper, back off, pivot away from his freedom and liberty messaging? Does he do it? And if so, at what risk?
Hey, every guy can relate to this. You're tired of wearing those baggy cotton shirts that feel like you're wearing curtains. There's a difference. In fact, I'm wearing the difference. That is the ultra premium basics from goodlifeclothing.com. You'll love the shirts. I've been searching for a long time, like every guy, for the perfect lightweight shirt that looks good if you're in pretty good shape. It's at goodlifeclothing.com. Check them out. You'll see the difference for yourself. You'll feel the difference for yourself. It's the perfect shirt for this time of year in Austin, Texas. So, two things. Go to goodlifeclothing.com. You get a 20% discount if you enter the promo code JeffWard20. That's goodlifeclothing.com. Enter the promo code JeffWard20 or stop by their store domain Northside. You'll love the difference. You'll feel the difference. It's the perfect fit for a guy that's in good shape. It's goodlifeclothing.com, promo code JeffWard20, or stop by their brand new store at Domain Northside.
He might end up at that wall down in South Texas again. The wall, it's not going to happen. But does he pivot at all on his messaging? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because of 2024. I'm going to say no because the MAGA hats won't let him. I'll say no, but you may have a different take on that. So the fascinating part of this, as we sort of now sit back and take it all in and watch it and say, how's he going to play this? What messaging is there? Will he use his non-illness? We're going to assume he says he's fine, assuming he doesn't get sick. Will he use his platform? He hasn't so far. He's not exactly turned to Instagram. Instagram today was a very nice picture of the governor. He's fine. It's all cool. But does he use his non-illness, the fact that he was vaccinated, the fact that he's not sick? And it would be such an easy thing to do. You talk about a guy in a perfect spot. I'm now talking about thinking human beings, not MAGA hats, thinking human beings. He's in the perfect spot now to say, look, this is why I'm fine. Take a look. Everything's cool. This is why I want you to get vaccinated. So I didn't end up sick. I didn't end up in the hospital. What an easy opportunity for this guy to have a perfect pass, a seamless pass on not screaming and ranting and saying, look, this is why I need to do it. Will he do that? How much of it will he do? When do you think that's going to happen? Because it's not happened so far. That's going to be interesting. That would be the responsible thing to do. But the real test is, it may be the responsible thing to do, but does he realize, and his handlers realize, that the MAGA hats won't let it happen? They don't want to hear it. They don't want him to go there. Right. Forget that this doesn't even have to do anything to do. His position now, what's interesting about where he is now, and it doesn't matter if it's a celebrity or government figure or whatever. Again, dismissing karma for a second. This doesn't have to be about mandates. He doesn't have to do the thing about mandates right now. He's in a pretty easy spot to say, like, this is not a discussion about mandates and personal responsibility. This is a discussion about just get the vax. I'm the perfect example why. I'm fine, and that's why you need to go do the same thing and do it now. So if you get exposed, does he do that? I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess no. And I'm going to guess you don't matter. If you think he should, you don't matter. I think the people that think he shouldn't matter more than you. I think the people that think that he shouldn't may have been at that fundraiser a couple nights ago. I don't think he will, because I think the MAGA hats will think that if he were to do that, he would look weak. But I think it's a really interesting test. And I assume you agree. I mean, I think it's we all get to sit back now and see really where he is. I mean, which is a stupid spot for him to be in. And I'm not talking about getting COVID. It can happen. I'm talking about the spot that he's in would be so easy. Such a great opportunity to take the high road and say, look, It happens. It happened to me. Now do the right thing. What an easy chance. I'll bet you the MAGA hats won't let him do it. If he were to go there, can you imagine the discussion behind the scenes? I got to believe at some level, again, I may be overly optimistic, but in his quest for 2024, in his MAGA hat quest for 2024, I got to believe in a moment over the past 14 hours, he said, you know what but might be the right thing for me to do? Maybe it's a good time for me just to tell people to go and get vaccinated and use myself as an example. Does somebody scream in his ear? You can't do that. They'll eat you alive. You can't go there. I'm sorry. Back off. Put your MAGA hat back on. I'm guessing he doesn't do it. I don't know. I'd love to be wrong. I think it'd be interesting if I'm wrong. I think it's interesting if I'm right. Will he be more open in his encouragement? Not mandates, in his encouragement, his public platform. He's already out there on Instagram. My God, the guy was on LinkedIn a couple nights ago posting about his wedding anniversary. So we can't pretend that he's not reaching out. He's in a wild fight to get to 2024. So he's using social media like crazy. Does he use social media now to go out of his way to say, I'm the poster child. This is why you've got to do this? If he does it, would it change? Would it change minds? I mean, let's just pretend for a second he went that route. Hasn't so far, so I'm guessing he probably doesn't. But let's just say he did it. Let's say, wow, now I get an opportunity to act like a normal person. Now I don't have to pretend to be a dumb jackass. So goes to Instagram, goes to whatever, and says, "Hey everybody, you know my story. You know I'm fine. That's the whole reason I'm telling you now. Go get vaccinated so you don't end up sick. So you end up like me and you're perfectly fine, or don't feel awful." He can do it. He can do it easily, and I just wonder if he did that, would it change? The anti-vaxxer of today, if Greg Abbott were to go there, whether you're an anti-vaxxer that's a MAGA hat, you're an anti-vaxxer that's nuts and twigs, or you're an anti-vaxxer because whatever the reason is, if he went there, would it change minds? Would it work? Would he have any influence? Can he move the needle? Wait, sorry. That's stupid. Could he change minds? I mean, could he influence the MAGA hats? Could this be like the chance, as Ron DeSantis goes all in jackass mode, right? He's unhinged. But could this not be a great, I would say as a marketer, I would say it's a great opportunity to separate. It's a great opportunity to have a unique selling proposition. And that is, hey, today you don't have to be a jackass. Today, that soccer mom or that average parent, that person that's driving around the state of Texas that has a job, it is not ranting and a wife beater. You could talk to him today. They might dig you. They might think, yeah, I knew you weren't crazy. I knew you weren't a MAGA hat. I knew you weren't that jackass guy. He gets to take that position. Would he? Will he and would he? No. I mean, what evidence is there that he would do that? The MAGA hats will not let him, because the blowback for every positive message that was posted, thank you, Governor, for telling people. Thank you for using your platform. There'll be a ton of MAGA hats saying, you weak punk, you're finished. I'm going to say no. Then, of course, surely you've thought of this. What if somebody at that event, I don't know how we're going to know, and I hope it's not the case. I don't want him to get sick. I don't want anyone to get sick. We all want to get past this. Let's just go. We want to go back to normal. Any one of them who did what I did and put a kid on a school bus in a mask, it's getting old. It is awful. So we want to get past this. We don't want anybody sick, but I wonder what happens if and when somebody from that event gets really sick. Uh-oh. It's likely, right? Then what? What if 2 weeks from now, old Billy Joe Bob, Freddie, Mike, gets sick? And then, of course, some reporter somewhere is going to know. Someone's going to trace it back to. That's not that it's Greg Abbott's fault. It's just that event would then be, someone's going to use that event as a compare and contrast to, say, Lollapalooza, where almost 400,000 people were there, 90% were vaccinated, and only 222 ended up testing positive. Nobody even got sick. Imagine out of this one event in rural Texas with a bunch of old white people, and some people get sick. Is he forced then to say, hey, come on, this is why, and old Billy Joe, Mike, Freddie, Sue, Joe, this is why they would tell you that you need to get vaccinated. If that happens, if the awful circumstance happens, does that prompt him to go public? Then I think about this, and surely most of you have thought of this as well. It seems like such a chore, such a pain in the ass to act like this every day for a guy that's never acted like this before, just to appease that segment of the population, the 30% that are going to try to get you into the White House in 2024 if Donald Trump doesn't want the job. Because if he wants the job, you're screwed out of it. You're out. But it just seems like such work to act like this. What an easy chance. I mean, what a perfect, starting today on Instagram, starting today on whatever platform they're gonna use. What an easy chance today to just slightly pivot and be the normal, rational guy, to be the nice guy, to be the sensible guy in the room. What an easy chance to easily just go to, one of the things that I've always believed in as Attorney General, as blah, 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 do that boring Greg Abbott diplomatic stuff and say I've always believed in local control. And I believe in common sense, and I believe in personal responsibility. And I want you to know today, I'm the perfect example today of why I need to get vaccinated. And I'm telling you, and I'm going to preach to you, and I'm going to use this opportunity to do it more so we can get past this. What an easy thing to do today. It'd be a lot less stressful, I would assume. I just think every day he has to get up, and some handler has to get up and think, how can we be a jerk today? How can we be a radical jackass today? But as Mark McKinnon said yesterday, he is not a party of local control. He is no longer, he is hijacked, man. This guy is boxed in by the Trump party. And I don't care if you're offended by this. It's a pretty accurate summary. But he is boxed in, politically boxed in, as a member of the Trump party. And that is a iron-fisted, authoritarian, you take charge and just do it party now. That's where he's boxed in. And if he doesn't say anything about the vaccine, if he doesn't use himself as an example, there's the greatest example. He is boxed in to the party of Trump, and that is big government, iron-fisted, authoritarian, big, powerful, always look like you're the dictator. He's stuck in that space.
From the Hot Pie Media Studios in Austin, Texas, it's the Jeff Ward Show. Listen at jeffwardshow.com.